So we have an anatomy of a trade for y'all. We haven't done one of these in a while. We will continue to do them as they come in. I think these are very valuable just to show, in real time, in practice, how these defensive mechanics and tactics can play out over time. And I think what's especially helpful is the visual that we show when we have these, where you can constantly see the break evens moving beyond where they started or just being completely manipulated where the new stock price is. And all these things that you can do with defined and undefined risk trade. Mostly undefined risk trades, sometimes defined risk trades. I do like what you did here with net, and we'll dig in, and then we'll get to the YouTube chat questions. So if you want to join us on YouTube, just head over to the Tasty Live YouTube channel. We're streaming live there.
Yeah. So this was a position that I had on. I don't know if we took it from like a fast market or something like that. It's not an underlying that I trade all that much. I've traded maybe a handful of times in net. It's not something that I am familiar with. It's not super liquid. It's kind of one of those fringe stocks. And that's kind of why this came into play of being, one of those lesser losses that I ended up taking on this position rather than the anatomy of a trade in something like an AMD or a Square, where we roll and roll and roll and roll, and then we exit at a profit. I think one of the takeaways here on this position is that it's kind of a fringe stock. It's something that's through the life the trade had, big up moves, big down moves, and then finally I decided it was time to cut it off just because not that liquid, not something I often trade with. So we started with the 50-40 short put spread and the 65-70 short call spread. So you can see there's a $10 wide put spread with a $5 wide call spread. Kind of like a jade lizard. It's an iron condor. If you remember with our synthetic segment from Friday, they're kind of synthetically similar positions. I do have a little bit of risk to the upside, but less so than I do on the put side because of that put spread being wider. Stock trading around $60, a little bit under that, $59.28. I sold the whole package at $3.20, so around 1/3 the width of strikes relative to that short put spread. So you collecting $300, max risk of $700, kind of a standard entry point here, and you can see the break evens of 46 and 68. Pretty wide break even here. $12, $13 on the downside, $8, $9 on the upside. Seems like a lot on a stock that's trading, at $60. Over the course of about another week, so we're getting to the 15th here, February 15th, rolled up the short put spread. So I bought back that one that was short originally, and I sold out the 65-55 short put spread. So I'm moving it up to the 65 strike for the short option, keeping the $10 width. You'll see with some of the other adjustments, I actually just roll the short option. That's some of the flexibility that you get with wider spreads. I think that's one of the bigger points with this position is that there was a little bit of flexibility because I was only $5 wide on the call side, 10 on the put side. It allows you to kind of be a little bit more flexible. So I rolled this up to the 65-55 short put spread. I'm holding the 65-70 short call spread, and you can see stock goes up to 70. My call spread is fully in the money. This adjustment is just, getting to that butterfly / jade lizard setup here. So you're collecting another $2 in credit, gives you $5 total. I have no risk to the upside because my $5 in credit, $5.22, greater than the width of the spread to the upside. So it's really just an adjustment with the stock going up to 70. I'm fully in the money. It's kind of the last thing I can do to the upside at this point, just given the position. If the stock had gone to 80, that would have been great. And I would have taken my 20 some odd cents and moved on, but it didn't. It ended up dropping. It drops back down to 60. So we've gone from 60 to 70 back to 60. This is a span of about a month. So having some pretty big movements in either direction. If you remember, I've got the $10 wide put spread. So I'm a little bit wider on the put side to a $5 wide call spread. My next adjustment is I rolled down just that short call. So I'm holding the 65-55 short put spread. I'm rolling down that 62 call or the 65 call down to 62. So not doing the full 10 by 10 here. Now I'll be $10 wide on the put spread, 7 on the call spread, or 8 on the call spread. moving it down just a couple points into this move down. It's moved down to 60, rolling down that short call spread, or that short call part of the short call spread. I've now got that $3 of intrinsic value. So you can see I've gotten to the point where I'm kind of managing this more like a strangle now rather than an iron condor. I'm leaving the long leg because I'm already using that buying power on the downside. You don't have to keep the spreads the exact same width throughout the adjustment. So roll down the short call, collected a little bit of credit, 93 cents. When you think about that relative to the roll down, it's a $3 down move, roll down. I'm collecting 93 cents, basically 1/3 the width of the strikes. The same mechanics don't really change throughout this trade. The next roll, rolling out in time. So this is a couple days later. You can see the stock moves another 10%-ish to the downside. We get to 55, which is now fully in the money on my put spread, which is the wider risk portion of this trade. So I took this whole spread and I rolled it out to the next expiration, which will be in the April expiration. It would currently be open if I didn't close it already. We could take a look at what that's trading for after this. But I rolled it out to April. I kept my put spread, but I actually widened it out a little bit on the downside. So I rolled to the 65.50 short put spread, and then I rolled to the 60.75 short call spread. So this adjustment was essentially rolling to a similar risk profile because I'm collecting more credits here. I'll have $9 in credit relative to a 15-point wide spread on either side. So I'm only using $500-600 in buying power, same that I had on the opening, but it's a little bit inverted. So I'm $5 inverted. It's synthetically an iron fly, right? So I'm rolling to basically the 62.5 iron fly because it's right in the middle of my short strikes. I do that roll for $2 and change, almost $3, I should say. But I do have that $5 inversion on the spread. So at this point, with an iron condor, this one is relatively wide relative to the price of the underlying. But at this point, you got to kind of think to yourself, it's going to be really hard to make any money on this trade, right? So there's $5 minimum of intrinsic value. The spreads are 15 points wide. I've got $4, it's basically a 50-50 shot on this sort of trade. If you're collecting $9 and change, the spread is $15 wide. It's going to be a 40 or 50% probability of success on this trade. And that's why, we've had that move, and we'll look at the chart too, because the stock went even lower. We got down to like the 50-ish handle, where it's fully in the money. We get this bounce back to basically near 60. And I ended up closing this position out for a $10 and change debit, and ended up walking away with a $100 loss as opposed to a couple $100 loss that we had seen throughout the life of the trade.
Yeah. And one thing I like about the Jade Lizard setup is that, and just Jade Lizards in general, is that because you have no risk to the upside, if you do get that reversal to the downside, you can be aggressive with your call spread, because as long as you maintain a credit that is greater than the width of your spread, which also means you could take a $5 wide call spread and widen it out. Here you had risk to the upside, but in some cases you can collect enough credit to where you could take a $5 wide call spread, make it a $7 wide, $8 wide, $10 wide, and still have more credit than you're with your call spread. So it's an interesting adjustment for sure. But I do like that you made it a focal point to keep collecting credits along the way, which meant adding some risk on both sides. But this stock was crazy.
Yeah, and this also comes into play and why we talk about defined risk spreads being hard to manage, because you could go back and look at those slides and be like, well, why didn't you just not do anything? You would have been profitable on this trade. And that's certainly, something that you can do and consider, but nobody ever thinks about that. Nobody just sits with their position. Everybody wants to manage their position and cut losses. That's always the question we get. And this is sort of an example of like, could you have managed this for a scratch or maybe a slight profit at some point if you had done nothing? Probably. But if the stock had continued higher after the first initial adjustment, you would have been out $200. So it's hard to go back and look at this in hindsight. It's more the takeaway should be more of like, okay, you can manage this iron condor relatively tight Iron Condor that goes to a $300 or $400 loser and turn it into a $100 loser. The strangle you can take from a $300, $400, $500 loser and turning it into a $100 winner. That's not as difficult because you can always add time. You're not adding additional risk, and you're adding a lot of extrinsic value. With Iron Condors, you're not collecting as much extrinsic value. You've got a drag via the long options. It's much harder to get back to the scratch or slight green profit, as Mikey would like to get to, but you can manage them back to a manageable loss, which is significant when you're talking about, trades that might be a big part of your portfolio.
Yeah. And I think that I'm glad you brought that up, because that really is the big takeaway here. You watch the stock go from 57 above 70, above your long call. And really the move was, why would I not roll this up and remove my upside risk? It was like, here, that's a no-brainer. Like, that's why you made this roll. Yeah. And then right after you did it, you watch it go from 72 all the way back down to 50. And now it's like, okay, now how do I continue to manipulate this position? And that's where you end up with this position. And like you said, if this was a strangle and you made this adjustment, you probably would have been profitable here.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, you would have been out of it at that point. You would have rolled up to the straddle. You'd have the, 65 or 60, 65 strangle. The stock would have been right in between where you had to be with 2 weeks to go till expiration. It would have been a nice profitable position, but that's not the case with this, because you have the drag of the long options that are, costs that are decaying as well. And that's going against your value.
Yeah. And then focusing on, and really quick, the blue line is the stock price here. The hard red line is your short put. Your long call is up here. The long hard green line here, long puts down here. And the break evens are the dotted line. So that whenever we do these, just focus on the break evens and what is happening with the break evens. So here, taking on more downside risk to remove upside risk. And you have to remember, when you're making these adjustments, that's the trade-off. You're either giving up, if you're taking on more risk to the downside to get rid of or remove some upside risk, and same thing if you're moving things down. So here you are re-adding risk to the upside to really push your break even lower on the downside here. So great adjustments overall, but like you said, these little adjustments here where we're picking up a little bit more credit, moving our break evens wider. With defined risk trades, these are going to be little blips on the radar. Yeah. But with undefined risk trades, you'll see huge jump. You'll see this. You'll see, okay, I roll out in time, boom. Now my break even significantly better. Same thing here. And that's what we've shown many times with undefined risk, and why it's much easier to manage undefined risk trades. Now, you will still run into situations where you get a move like this and it just keeps running. And now you have a headache on your hands, where if you had a defined risk trade, you wouldn't. But that's the trade-off, because with a defined risk trade, it's much harder to manage and manipulate these break evens, where if you had a strangle here or a straddle, you can follow the stock price wherever it goes, because this, even though these moves are going from 50 to 70, back down to 50, like, this is still a manageable range. Yeah.
And another piece to this is that with a undefined risk trade, whether it be a straddle or a strangle, you might be able to exit even if the stock isn't, at your break even point or right at your strikes. With a defined risk spread, the reason I was able to close this position is because it moved inside, moved closer to my short options. Like, you really needed the stock to get near your short strikes. Whereas with a strangle or straddle, rolling out and collecting all of that premium over a couple months, you don't necessarily need the stock to get right to your short strikes, because you're collecting so much more extrinsic value relative to the defined risk position, where you really are dependent on the stock price and how near you are to expiration. Like, you need the stock to be near your short strikes at expiration for a defined risk trade to work out. And just for reference, with this trade, it's trading at the same value now. So it's been another 4 or 5 days since I closed this position. It hasn't moved at all. So it's just another testament to the idea that if I was going to get this to be $100 winner with 25 days to go till expiration in the April expiration, I would need the stock to be right here for the next 2.5, 3 weeks, at least, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And I think last week we talked about coin and square, and some people had some coin and square strangles, straddles that went inverted, etc. But when you visually look at this, like the break evens here are below 70 and right at 55. The situations that we were talking about with coin and square, similarly priced stocks, $60 stock, but a 15-point inversion. So where 70 is and where 55 is, but a collection of $2,200, which means your break even is above 75 and below 55. So your break evens on that, on like the square position that's 15 points inverted, are above this hard green line and below this hard green line. And that's why we're saying with defined risk trades, it's harder to manipulate the strikes unless you're taking on more risk like we did here, where with an undefined risk trade, because you're collecting so much premium every single roll you make, you're really boosting your break evens well above the current stock price and well below it, in which case you just need like a chop like this for a couple of weeks and you can be profitable on that trade.